Good evening and welcome to the number two on the simul stream going across on X, YouTube, and Substack live, and this will also be podcast number 2. Welcome in, Crypto Clueless. Yes, sir. JT, there you are. Welcome back, my man.
So working. There we go.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Looking
you.
good there, man.
Setup here.
Yeah, I got a first-class camera now. Looking great there. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We increased in production value, yeah, for sure. So
yeah, absolutely.
This is the first time using it. We got the headset too. Eventually, we will look for a different camera, but or a different microphone. But this one should be pretty good for now as well. So excited to be here, man. Gonna get some stuff in the background too. Thank you. It's been too long.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, like when you go on vacation and you miss it, it's been like 2 whole long weeks, man. I was beside myself trying to get ready for the show last week.
I feel like more happened in the week that I was gone than anything that happened in the market, in the last like 3-4 months combined. It's been absolutely crazy. Whiplash, defense stocks going everywhere to the downside. Lots of buying opportunities, lots of money to be made right now with layering. I'm happy to get into it now here.
Yeah.
With you and then our guests for today and all of that. But welcome everyone.
So what's on your mind first thing back?
Honestly, just kind of looking at the field, looking at my buy levels, of course, checking the news and everything, and kind of seeing, okay, what's undervalued, why is it undervalued, and what is my buy target, and then going in on there. I'm a long-term bull. I rarely am shorting things. I'm usually not looking for stocks that I don't want to own. I think that's just kind of a waste of time. I'd rather be a strong long-term investor, look for value, things I like, and then double down on those when value presents itself, which is what's happening with a lot of my favorite plays right now that we've been talking about. Also, nuclear has been on my mind. That was the most recent article I wrote coming back from vacation, and I think that is just going to be a sector that it's going to be massive, right? Similar to like drones in the next 5 to 10 years, because AI is not going anywhere. I mean, we're looking at the spending. It's just becoming more egregious. There's revenue behind it. So the worries like a .com bubble are kind of gone. And, memory is the current bottleneck for AI. So things like Micron, SanDisk, all of that is absolutely exploding right now. But I think the next bottleneck is going to be energy itself. So we don't actually have the energy infrastructure to maintain these data centers that are popping up right now. So nuclear is probably the only option in terms of getting enough energy that's also clean and safe to actually make these things work. So that's what I am bullish on. Gotcha. Okay, we got Gecko coming in from YouTube, it looks like. I see that we have all of our other platforms linked, YouTube, X, and then I believe it's also streaming to Substack too. I believe our producer said that. So yeah, we have a producer, guys, if you didn't know. So this stuff's getting pretty serious. It's very exciting. How was your week?
Man, I had a great week. We had a great weekend, 4th of July weekend, fell on a Saturday. That doesn't happen very often. Doesn't happen often enough, right? Have Friday off and then Saturday for the holiday. I'm ready to get back to the market tomorrow though. Things are opening up now. A little bit up. So you went on vacation last week. It was a wrong week, man. We had a special guest call in. You might have heard about it.
I might have. Yeah. That was amazing. I mean, how cool is that, right?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I really appreciated it. I was talking with Eric, and he said he'd like to call in and say, welcome aboard on the simul stream and wish us well. Of course, last week they had the Russell inclusion, which was a good milestone there. But man, 5 weeks now down for Ondas. Five red candles there on the weekly chart in a row. That hasn't happened since October, since that high from the run up from August into October, when it went all the way down there into first week in November. Got down to like 580 or so.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the untrained eye, it looks pretty bleak right now. I mean, the technical side of things, obviously it's weak, but in terms of the actual story, why we invest in these companies, we're not looking at technicals and financials. We're looking at what the story is. Is it actually applicable to its use case, and then excuse me, and then like if the use case can be deployed and create a successful revenue stream in the future. With Ondas, we definitely see that happening, right? I mean, we'll look at the European expansion, look at the U.S. expansion, look how geopolitical conflicts are being waged right now with drones, and then we also look at what is missing in the U.S. right now, which is like a drone infrastructure.
Right.
It's all based out of China, and with all the bullish catalysts with new acquisitions being done correctly, the synergy with like the Iron Wave, and now deals with like Lockheed Martin, you'd expect the stock to go up, and yet it still has like a 30 to 40% short float. So, my opinion, the time is now. I think we could see there's potential for a bottom around like the high 5s, low 6s, but I really do think that we're going to see kind of a bounce with Ondas, and I am targeting it very aggressively right now with my option strategies.
Right, with some puts. You got some puts you sold on it?
Yep, I'm doing aggressive cash secured puts, so I'm actually fine holding Ondas as long as I get it under 10 DCA wise. So I don't actually mind selling some out of the money cash secured puts right now because the premiums on it are just extremely elevated. So you can get an insane break even. I could sell a I think it was like a $9 cash secured put or something on Ondas a month or two out, and I could get a break even on that with the premium about, I think it was in like the mid 6s or something. So just an absolutely ridiculous premium. So I'm just kind of stacking cash, getting paid right now to buy Ondas at a price that I find acceptable, and that's anything under $10. So
smart.
It's free money right now, in my opinion. I don't mind holding it, right? I'll hold it to 20. I'll sell covered calls. So if I get assigned, fine. I'll just take the paycheck for buying shares. And I mean, who doesn't like getting paid to buy their favorite stock, right? So it's definitely one that's, I mean, sucks if you buy it at like 11, 12, it hurts. I know, I bought some ONDL, but I believe it is going to rally. So you really just have to look through the noise and just kind of see what's going to happen in the future. And writing's on the wall, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I had some I've been selling some options, selling some calls on Ondas, and that's been working out real well here the last 3 or 4 weeks. But last week I really didn't see it doing a 5th week in a row, so I missed most of the opportunity to make any money on the covered calls, and I like I told Ryan that I try to tell myself to do less on Mondays and Tuesdays. I was sitting on some cash because some calls, I did have a few get called away. And I went right back into Ondas on the 2X levered ETF. And I wish I'd have waited until the end of the week to do that instead of the first of the week. But such as c'est la vie, such as life. It happens that market will it'll get you every chance it gets. It's like my dad used to say, if the left one don't get you, the right one will.
Absolutely.
But hey, look, we had a great guest last week. Ryan, our friend Ryan from LP Options, he came in and filled in for you as co-host. And we brought.
He did great.
What's that?
He did great. Love having Ryan on the show. Ryan is best options. He's option coach around.
Yeah, definitely can handle himself around the especially an options discussion, And we brought on Ann. We had our first time Ann was on as a guest. And I guess that's a good segue to actually introduce our guest tonight. Last week we had a math professor. Today we got a high school math teacher, right? These are I was really happy that Fridge Financials decided to join us this week, or accepted our invitation. I've been watching him across YouTube on After Hour. Now that school's out, he's definitely prolific and putting things up, very transparent with his trades or whatnot. I don't know if Zero fell asleep there, but maybe he wants to bring Fridge up on stage. There he is.
That Fridge?
There he is. Hey, Fridge, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys for obviously being so patient with me on things. As you guys know, I just got married like last week, so things have
Congratulations.
been a little crazy. So we're excited. The new missus officially is next door listening in, so I'm excited to be here tonight.
All right, yeah,
Excited to have you. It's awesome.
We got one more listener too. I appreciate you bringing on that extra firepower, Fridge.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And you guys are talking about Ryan, dude. I mean, you guys know, like, me and Ryan have been partnered for like at least a year now, I think, almost. And he and I just do. He like you said, I'm honored to be coming after him because this dude is the most knowledgeable person I've like worked with for the last like year or so. He knows ins and outs of everything, and he's like, dude, you want to hop on a call? You want to record some videos, whatever? Let me know. So he was like, dude, like you should do the live stream, and I was like, yeah, sure, man, I'm all for it. So I'm glad that I watched it last week. I watched it back, and I never saw Ann before, and so it was nice to see Ann also in person because Ann does a lot with our YouTube stuff and live streams. So you guys are doing a great thing so far, let me tell you, and I'm excited to hopefully add more to that today.
Right on, man. Yeah. Well, you can't help but do that, man. It's one of the things I'm really impressed with is just your nature to teach. Right. And I mean, it's just like one of those 2-arrowed circles, right? It's like those who like to learn, like to teach. Those who like to teach, love to learn. It's really self-reinforcing there. But that you just exude that whenever I catch you on YouTube or you and Ryan, bouncing stuff back and forth off each other. You just constantly imparting that information and whatnot. What's your style there? Tell us a little bit about yourself, Fridge, and how you came to be trading.
Yeah, definitely. First of all, if anybody who is watching sees like, oh, I don't have a face cam on, since I am a public educator, I try to keep myself hidden for my students for obvious reasons. Let me tell you, I'll give you guys an example. You think that students don't know what's going on around your life. My students, before summer started, they found my wedding registry online, and I was like, this is the reason why. This is the prime reason as to why I, keep things hidden usually, on my YouTube channel, except for memberships and things like that. For that reason, because these students, man, are like FBI agents whenever they want to, and it's absolutely insane sometimes. And I was like, if you found it, can you at least buy me something for my wedding if you don't mind? But so yeah, it's a little bit about me. So I've been teaching now. I just finished up my 7th year, believe it or not. I just turned 30, so I've been teaching since I was like 22-ish. Which was a weird experience already. I've been a math teacher for, all 7 years. I started getting into investing back during COVID, believe it or not. I was a little bit late to the game back in like the 2020 COVID, fiasco.
You can never be late to the game, though. I mean, we've been investing for 200 years now, at least on the, in terms of some exchanges. I was just doing index funds until a few years back as well, and then really kind of dove into it. But you could never, it's never too late to get into the investing journey, right? You start when you start. And I mean, I know a couple people that are twice my age, 3 times my age that are just getting into it now. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good, dude. Hey, I mean, if I talk too much, you feel free to cut me off. I mean,
No. Just do a little interjection. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, I like it because you make a very good point. People say the best day to invest is today. The second best time is tomorrow. It's like one of the most common phrases people usually say. So if you don't get started today, try to get started tomorrow. Definitely is a huge thing that people should live and obey by for investing. If not today, start tomorrow. It doesn't hurt to throw even 5. I remember my first stock I bought was, I think it was like $10 into like Adidas, like when it was still like, I think it was before it went like over the counter or something like that. I was like, oh, I know Adidas, the brand, like I can invest in that. And that I sold out of really quick. So I was like, this is just not doing anything, obviously. But you never forget your first stock, that you buy into and invest with. But it was, it was during COVID times. We were teaching remote, which was a whole different situation. Trying to teach high schoolers on a computer is absolutely insane. And once we logged off, it was like, what do I do the rest of the day? We were in lockdowns. We couldn't do anything. And my buddy was like, hey, like, have you ever heard of like this, like investing? And I was like, no. He's like, you're a math teacher, you don't invest? And I was like, no, I actually have no idea what you're talking about. And, I also had this preconceived notion that, investing is gambling. A lot of people put that perspective in that you're potentially gambling your money away. And over that summer of COVID, when we were in shutdowns and lockdowns and everything like that, I started to kind of read up a lot. I read books, I was watching articles, I was, watching videos on YouTube. I was doing everything I could. I was trying to just absorb it. And the minute I started to really understand investing was when that switch flipped and I became, this is not gambling. This is my future that like I can build. And so ever since then, I started, just trying to, process as much information as I possibly can out there, take all the information I can, follow people, read things online. And then, 2023 comes around, and believe it or not, my 3-year YouTube anniversary is tomorrow, believe it or not, which is crazy. I started the Fridge Financials journey, and I thought, I'm an average person. I'm not someone who makes 6 figures. I'm not even close to making 6 figures. I'm an average person who has an average salary. But if I can take my knowledge and put it to the average investor and grow my net worth over time, become financial and get, financial freedom, then it just shows that anything's possible. As you put your mind to it, doesn't matter how much money you have, what you come from and what you got. It's about what you do with it. So that's kind of where I love teaching. I love the finance stuff, put them together, and there's the Fridge Financials brand for you.
You just got monetized, right, on your YouTube for Fridge Financials?
Yeah, I got monetized. I believe it was my goal was to do it before summer, because that was like my major goal for the year was to hit it before summer, and I hit it in like May, I think it was. And obviously, you start off getting monetized, you don't make, tens of thousands of dollars. I'm making like $10-$30 a month or whatever it is. But it really does put more drive to make more and more content out, because now there's at least somewhat of a financial, side of it now to help out, So once I started seeing like the ad revenue, which is like 3 cents per view or whatever it is, like I just really was like, I want to keep grinding these content videos. Right. And just now, like the fuel is there. My wife now is like, you got to keep going. I was like, I want to quit. She was like, no, you got to keep going through it. And so now I'm just super, super excited. And again, seeing this opportunity to be on you guys on the podcast with you guys is absolutely awesome. So thank you guys again for having me, of course.
Of course, it's gotta be surreal though, getting that first paycheck, from doing that, grinding it all the time, and no matter how much it is. I mean, just seeing that work actually paying off has got to feel amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I log on every single night because it gives you like estimated ad revenue. I log in every single night. I'm like, oh, cool, I got an extra like $1 today. I'm like, okay, that video took me like that video took me like 2.5 hours to go through for editing and recording and uploading. I was like, okay, so I got $1 for 2.5 hours of work. But again, for me, the money is more of just the bonus for it. When I hear people who are saying, hey, your content helped me out so much, I've started investing now because of you. Right. Your trading style has been awesome. I've loved your advice. I've loved your analysis on things. I've loved your macroeconomic side of things. Like they just that honestly is why I became an educator in the first place. When I teach by day, when I have students that say, I get it, I understand it, I love math because of what you've taught me, that a paycheck doesn't put a price on, like nothing puts a price on that. When you hear someone say, I get it because of you, like that's what really helps, me drive myself to do better. And so when people sit there and comment on my things, it just fuels my fire to be like, I'm going to keep going with this now. It's not for the money for me. It's more just because I like to educate. I like to teach people. And I don't have any sort of, formal education in financial, in accounting. I know Ryan does accounting. I don't have any financial backgrounds. I don't have any, business degrees or anything. I'm a self-taught high school math teacher. I have a math degree, which is awesome, but they don't teach you about investing in my college classes. They teach you about all the insane math that I never will see again in my life. So with that, I self-taught myself over the years, and I'm just hoping to be like that person, to be like, hey, I'm that person who just average salary, self-taught themselves, and just wants to, spread the love, spread the knowledge, and for free. Most of the time making it for free is, I think, definitely what's really, really awesome for myself and for other people, is you get the free financial education, not behind a paywall kind of thing. So
right on.
Which is so hard to find these days. That's why I think it's really cool what you've done with the YouTube stuff. Is if you look at like, social media platforms like, After Hour, for example, right now it's, completely turned into like a pathway for monetization, where you're just putting a bunch of communities on there. And if you want any actually good information, you usually have to go behind a paywall, which, that can suck. Right. And I understand that as someone who has like a publication that is paid. Like I definitely understand. It's like you want to learn. and YouTube is just such a great source because you can actually, do it for free on your end, but then also get paid, but you're getting paid by, like YouTube itself, these big corporations, and then the people are getting the content for free. So, I mean, that's in my opinion, the best of both worlds. I hope to actually get my YouTube up, to a certain amount of subscribers to do that in the future too, because I think it's amazing what you're doing over there. So yeah, fantastic work, Fridge. And it's really cool just hearing about your journey and where you started, where you are at now, and how much you've learned. And YouTube is honestly a very, very underrated source for some financial content, right? So for any like, options stuff, just learning, what's an index fund, what's a stock, what does OTC mean? Just random things. It's such a fantastic source. There's so much information that lives on there that's just absolutely fantastic, and sometimes is better than like very expensive paid courses that you see just being like shilled on X and stuff. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, I always like doing, you'll see me do it once in a while and after hours, be like, hey, like, what questions do you have for me? Like, I can just make videos day in and day out that what I think are beneficial. But once in a while, I pop on a question, be like, hey, what do you guys want to know? Like, and if I don't have the answer right away, I'd take an hour, go on my computer, sit on my monitor and start just doing some research, Googling things. Hey, what's going on with the markets here? Hey, what's going on with this stock here? What's the valuation at, for example, so just because at the end of the day, I want to provide knowledge that's helpful for people that are reading through it. And if I just write, every single day about the same stock over and over again, people will be like, okay, well, how does that help me? So once in a while I'll pop into a question, be like, hey, what do you guys want to learn from me? You have any questions, let me know. I'm fully like we were saying earlier, I try to be as fully transparent as possible. I don't try to, hide behind my numbers. Here's my numbers. I do net worth updates every single week. Just to show that like, hey, like this is where I've gone the whole year. I track my net worth all the time. But last week I made a video about how much I made for my whole year as a teacher, like every single number broken down. And, I always made the joke and say, hey, if you think that like I'm making these numbers up, like if you look at the numbers I put in, like it's so specific. Like I just don't have the capacity to make up numbers like that. Like it's very, very just like copy and paste it from my paychecks. Because that's how you get the trust of the people, is saying, hey, like this is how much I make. Like these are my numbers. This is what I make. These are my trades. This is what I'm doing. Here's my net worth. You know all about who I am. The only thing you don't know about me is what I look like, and that's about it. Everything else, like I'm a teacher. Everything that you need to know about me. I don't like to be that person. Be like, oh well, I'm gonna keep that classified. And I think that's one of the big problems I've seen a lot, where even just in schools, as someone who's been an educator, students will sit there and say, how much do you make? And I'm like, oh, I make this much. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Like I hate that. Like, I feel like as a society, we've gotten to a point where people are afraid to talk about money and finances and investing. And it shouldn't be that way. We should be able to have those open discussions, those open dialogues. I told my students that, hey, I make $74,000 last year. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, that's how much I made. Yep. You can look it up. You can Google it. You can Google, like our district. You can look it up and you can find out how much I get paid. It's not something to be ashamed of. And I still don't understand the asterisks people have behind asking about how much people make, because at the end of the day, it's just numbers are numbers, and it's not about how much you make, it's about what you do with it, So that's why I feel like it's been, I'm trying to hopefully break that kind of wall of it's okay to ask about money. It's not a big deal. There's numbers, and and if I can give you my numbers, then hopefully you have more trust that like I'm here to educate the best of my abilities, So
yeah, I'd say that's actually a big issue right now with like American public school systems, is there's not many classes to actually teach you anything about finance. I mean, going out of college, I went to school for history, and then I ended up in annuities and annuity sales and things like that. So I kind of moved into the financial sector after the fact, but before that, there was no classes in schools for this is how you invest, this is finance. Maybe it's like a securities issue or something, but the tools aren't there for for our kids and stuff. So it's great to see someone like you kind of seeing that and then creating like a YouTube channel. So I know you don't want like your students to see your page, but is that something you've ever thought about like bringing up to like your school board in terms of like starting some sort of investing class, just to give not any kind of financial advice on what to invest in, but just explaining how the stock market works and why it's so important?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So interesting enough, I've had some of my math lessons that we teach at the high school kind of tie into like investing in finance, whether it's part of the curriculum or not. I kind of tie it in anyways because I just think it's an important thing to know. When I was, students were saying, hey, like, can you be like the club advisor for personal finance? Like, can you do like a investing like club after school? And I was like, I don't care, I can do that. Our district, I know some districts are making a switch over where they're requiring students to have personal finance as a class to graduate. I don't know if that's across the country yet, but in our district, they have to take at least one personal finance class before they graduate. Now, granted, again, I don't know what they cover as much. I feel like the students have talked to me about how it's more about like taxes and like how you fill out a W-2. And I don't know how much investing side there is to that as much. But one of the things that I do every single year that I think just piques students' interest is we get to talk about compounding interest. And I say, guys, let me tell you, I can show you how to make $1 million without doing a lot of work. And it's really easy. And they all look at me like I'm like the craziest person out there. I'm like, no, it's really not as hard as you think it is. And, people think that it's impossible to become a millionaire. I'm like, it really isn't if you understand the math behind how things work. So we do a couple examples. I pull up like a, simulator of like, investing in the S&P, in the index for 8% a year for the next 30, 40 years, whatever. Oh, look, you're now at $1 million. And they're like, but that's 40 years. I'm like, yeah, but if you start at 18, you're looking at 60 years old with $1 million+. And that's if you don't even put more in. You can obviously accelerate it by putting more in if you want to. And students just look at me, they're like, so what about you? I'm like, well, from my numbers, I'm on track to hopefully be the first millionaire in my family before 60, which I'm happy to say, and it's not guaranteed, obviously, market could crash tomorrow and I'm back to the drawing board for things, but it's all about, it's a numbers game. And, the students look at me like I'm like, they're shocked to hear somebody who's like, just able to be like, guys, you can do it. I don't think and I think I'm in a district where a lot of people don't feel like they have as much opportunity as a lot of other people do. So I think with them being told they can do it, I think it's like a huge, eye opener for them. But yeah, so I do a little bit of like investing in personal finance, like knowledge courses, like within my lessons usually. But they are required to do personal finance before they graduate, believe it or not, for me at least.
I'm actually worried, with the school systems and things like that, because I think a huge issue facing America and probably other countries today with social media is like the short-term dopamine hits from things like Instagram Reels, gambling, and now like sports betting is a huge thing, and now like options trading. Like I feel like you go from sports betting to then like maybe like Kalshi or Poly market, prediction market stuff, and then you go to buying options right on the stock market, just betting on companies, gambling, and then losing all your money. I think it's really important to teach people and these kids in these schools about compounding wealth through just holding long, selling options, potentially buying some leaps, and really, really working on saving your premium, right? And keeping your money instead of, shooting for the stars. Because I mean, we can see things with like buy now, pay later, right? Everyone wants these big shiny things now. Everyone wants to flex, and then they all prop up these fake lifestyles, right? But behind the camera, they're in big trouble. I mean, I think we're gonna have a huge private credit crisis here in the next 10 years, and it's more important than ever to actually just teach people how to invest, either just with whether that be S&P 500 and letting it sit, or actually going in and picking your favorite stocks, picking good ones, and keeping them for 5 to 10 years and watching them go 100x.
Yeah, absolutely.
Scary,
I know. It was funny they mentioned that because one of my students, before we had finals, because we got out, believe it or not, like 2 weeks ago, because we had a bunch of snow days in my area. So we got out like June 22nd, I think it was. So like a week before my wedding, I was like, this is the worst year we could have had all these snow days. But one of my students goes, are you doing, he was talking, he goes, mister, are you doing like any sort of like parlays for the World Cup? And I was like, dude, you're in ninth grade. And I was like, I give you a math problem on my board and you can't do it, but you know what a parlay is? And I was like, that doesn't make any logical sense. And he was like, yeah, I know what a parlay is. I'm like, dude, you better forget those words so quick. You better forget what a parlay is. You better forget sports betting. You better forget all that kind of stuff. Because again, as someone who, I teach statistics also, we talk about, the statistical edges that casinos have, for example, with gambling and sports books and everything like that. Like, I know the numbers. I know the games. Like, you can't tell me like, oh, I'm just going to go to the casino and win all my money. Like, yeah, okay, good luck to you on that one, because, why do you think they're in business? Because they're taking money from a lot of people, and so it's interesting you bring that up because, and I'm the same way. I'll be on Instagram Reels and it's like, oh, that they'll plug in like, some sort of gambling platform as they're doing something else. I'm like, dude, like it's scary, man. It is terrifying,
It's an epidemic right now.
Yeah, to see that. It is terrifying to see that, there's kids who are being exposed to this gambling side of things. Poly market's a huge thing. I saw some stupid thing last week where it was like Messi plays in the MLS and the Major League Soccer League, so he plays for the U.S. team now for the World Cup. I'm gonna put like 30 grand on. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, they're just making up like these random bets, and people are just feeding into it and loving it. And I'm honestly, I mean, it's gonna be great for like probably like DraftKings and stocks. Probably gonna do great, but from an ethical side of things, it's terrifying. And again, as a teacher who watches it every day, it's like you said, it's very scary to watch, and I'm afraid for the future for that reason. It sucks.
Yeah, we'll see where we're heading, but hopefully there's like regulations put in place. Right now, it's definitely looking a little bit dystopian with that kind of being put in every single different aspect of your life with marketing. I was actually watching New House of the Dragon last week, and there was a gambling ad on HBO. HBO had this random AI generated gambling ad, and I was just like, how far are we falling? Like, how desperate is HBO where they're putting that crap on there? So yeah, it's more important than ever to teach actual good investing, break those bad habits of like dopamine rushes, and then really focus on what the future is. And I feel like that's what we do at like the 0 Hour Group and Hidden Gems is we're really kind of investing in these long-term story plays based on quality with a long time horizon because our conviction is high. So
yeah, absolutely, man, for sure. I completely get that. I will say there's a couple good eggs I've seen from in my classes where I had one kid who was like, you know what gold futures are? And I was like, holy crap, you're in 9th grade. And I was like, yeah, I was like, what do you do? And like, we had to have a whole conversation about it. And I was like, how about you stick to like, this is a really cool thing called an index fund. How about we stick to that for now? But there's some kids who are just like, yeah, mister. He's like, should we short gold? That was when gold. Remember how gold and silver had those huge spikes in like, I think it was like April or maybe March where you had like those all-time highs for gold. And they're like, mister, right. Short. This one student was like, I'm going to short gold with 3x leverage. And I was like, dude, you're in 9th grade. I was like, what the? I was like, I mean, I guess with parental approval, I guess, like, good for you. You can't even, have your own, investing thing yet. And he goes, what do you think about that? And I was like, I'm not telling you because you're 9th grade. So there are still some students who really do think like in the investing side of things in the market and not just the gambling side. So I have seen both sides this year. I'm hoping that we lean more towards the investment side. I'm hoping than the gambling side, but only time will tell with that one, I think.
Well, hey, Fridge, what would you say is your style? And is it all trading or do you have some long-term investing?
Yeah, I would say honestly, most of my investments is more of just buy and hold. ETFs, for example, is what I'm really having a lot of money into. I have a small account that most of my videos I make on are my small account trading ones where I'm showing different option trading strategies to let people know what's going on. I'll do some cash secured puts on that one sometimes. I'll do some cover calls on it sometimes. A lot of my content I make on YouTube is through that account because it's a small percentage of my overall investments. So if I lose a little bit of money on that one, I'm like, okay, it's not the end of the world. I have a lot more of my money invested in, ETFs. Most of my ETF money is usually in, I have like SMH, which has done very, very well. The semiconductor ETF has done phenomenal this year so far. I have SCHG, which is like the growth S&P ETF has done very well. And then one of the ones that I think people have still slept on is QTUM, which is quantum computing ETF.
Yeah.
Done very, very well for my portfolio. I don't know what the return is right now, but I will say like that was one I got into when they started talking about quantum computing being like 5-10 years out down the road. And I was like, well, then why not get into it now and try to get in early before everybody else gets into it, So that ETF I'm up like 72% so far in the last couple of years. So it's done very, very well. So most of it is usually in like ETFs. I've started to put a little bit of exposure into private equity. Like the Robinhood Venture Fund I know is like a private equity diversification for it. And I bought a little bit of DRAM recently as well on the dips. So mostly ETFs, a little bit of, selling cash secured puts, cover calls. I'm doing a lot more. I know that JT does a lot with Trader Daddy. I'm doing a lot with that as well, trying to explore some different options as well with Trader Daddy. Doing some credit spreads, debit spreads, like small trades, kind of to see how the software reacts in certain ways to kind of, find my edge in that aspect of things. And I think it's done pretty okay so far. So like 10% of my, my investments are kind of like riskier trades, and the rest of it's like ETFs, buy and holds, and just, retire before 60 is the goal.
I gotcha. That QTUM, man, it looks like it's up 50% since that low on the March 30th.
That's why, I know that Ryan and I have talked about this a lot in our video. I don't know if it was video or I don't know if it was a video or if it was more on.
What was that ticker again? Sorry, for the quantum.
Yeah, QTUM.
Yeah, QTUM.
I'll start getting some of these tickers up on the screen, taking a look.
Yeah. So with Ryan and I were talking about this before, and again, I'm not sure if it was on one of our podcasts or our live streams, or maybe we're just doing it like in a chat for no reason. But he was talking about trying to figure out, he was looking about like IonQ and Rigetti and like all those different potential quantum computing plays. And I was like, dude, this ETF's got all of it, so IonQ's in there, Rigetti's on there. I think D-Wave's another one that's on there as well. So it's got all those different quantum computing, stocks in there, but not obviously like you don't have to hope that you pick the right one. You know what I mean? You get all the exposure to every single one. So,
right.
So they have what else? They have Astera Labs, which I know is another one. Applied Materials, another one. So they have a lot of different exposure to quantum. So that way, if one hits the money, then this ETF still does very, very well long term. So that was one I've really liked getting into, and that one's in my Roth, which is very, very nice. So gonna hold that for a while.
It's been an absolute tear of the last 6 months or so. Yeah. I'm just watching it right now. I'd probably be looking for buy this one at like 137 with the potential second DCA at 127. Just looking at it right now, I mean, quantum had the huge pushes due to potential government contracts. I believe there were government grants for some of the quantum stocks, but just looking at like the TA chart right now, we are seeing some slightly higher lows here, or excuse me, lower highs, with a pretty sharp rejection just last week. So I think there's some very good value in this, just like holding off a bit, waiting for a run into deep support. I mean, potentially near 150, and if not, if you want to be a little bit greedy, actually waiting towards like 137 or 127 when we had some explosive moves to the upside. But yeah, I think quantum is going to be a great sector.
You can really see, like, I'm glad you brought up the chart, but you can really see the exhaustion. Like, you can see the big momentum you get up there, and you can see about like that 170-ish mark. You can see the exhaustion happening where like buyers aren't stepping in as much as they were before, and now you're seeing the kind of like just like it's just like stagnant, just trading sideways now. So this could be either your consolidation phase, I feel like, for the next leg up, or a consolidation for a breakdown to those previous levels that you met up there. So obviously with consolidation, you can go one of two ways. But I've been very, very happy. I got in when it was like 90, I think, or my average is like $90 right now, or 80 something, I think. So I've been sitting pretty nice.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
2x, beautiful.
Yeah, and again, ETF, so you get the diversification aspect to it. It's not like you're all in on IonQ or Rigetti or D-Wave or whatever. So obviously those government contracts were rumored to come out, and the grants were coming out. This thing did very, very well, and now I think it's kind of like, well, we got to wait to see what the finished product is. But again, people are saying that, quantum next 5-10 years out, it was going to be like, I think someone online, I forgot who it was, one of the like famous Wall Street investors was like, quantum 5-10 years down the road is like AI back in 2015 or something like that. So it's like, it's there and it's going to be a huge thing. Just, it's going to take some time, like AI is taking time to do right now. So
I could see that for sure. I mean, you got to think they want to put as much money into quantum as they can, just because once that actually comes out, I mean, it's going to be able to solve so many of the world's problems in terms of things probably like pharmaceutical research. Gosh, it might make AI like very scary though. So we could get either a future where there's no cancer, or a future where there's the Terminator running around. So we'll have to see. But it's like it'll look, I don't know. Quantum's it's gonna be very polarizing. It's gonna be very interesting, and it's gonna have some force multiplier effects for sure on AI. But I believe that the bottleneck for that as well is like processing power and energy too. So it seems like energy right now is something that's kind of bottlenecking everything. So we'll have to see how that advances. Anything else you're watching right now too?
I'm not really sure in terms of my watch list. So I mean, I kind of like to take a look at a couple of things. Like I have my own like spreadsheet. It's like an absolute like insane spreadsheet that I do where it maps out like different PE ratios, their expected earnings per share to grow over the next year or so, and then it kind of like flags the ones that I think might be undervalued. I have a lot, and if you look at like if I look at my spreadsheet here, you see a lot of software is the big undervalued play we're seeing right now, and I think everybody's talking about software in general. That software has been absolutely obliterated this year. Just for honestly, I feel like for no reason, almost in a way, or not even for no reason, but more of like the money's flowing into the semiconductors. So if money flows into one sector, it has to come out of other sectors. So I think software was the one that all the money flew out of. But for me, like I know all the ones that pop up for me are like Trade Desk, Workday, Adobe, Salesforce. UiPath, like all these different kind of stocks are flagging for me. It's like their earnings are there, their revenue's there, the growth is there. They just can't catch a break because software as a whole sector has been absolutely obliterated this whole year. So like really those are like my top of my list to really watch. Is anything in terms of software, I think is where not if, but when is that rotation going to happen for software? I feel.
Yeah, I'd probably put Palantir as my top pick. Microsoft is my second, and Now is my third in terms of potential undervalued software plays that I think have a lot of moves running the upside, especially with Palantir. I think that's a pretty easy 2x from here. Microsoft, I bet we get at least 40% or so retracement in the next year and a half, 2 years, and then Now is still a wild card. We'll have to see, but I think we could see 200 on that again.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I keep on, I update these numbers every quarter. When earnings come out, and like for example, like Adobe is one of the ones where like no matter what numbers I put in for conservative growth or whatever, it still comes in so undervalued. And I think there's just so much fear. And I think there was always been fear with Adobe, especially because once AI came out and it was making photos for people, okay, we don't need Photoshop anymore. Cool, that's Adobe Photoshop gone. Once all that, you have like Premiere, that could be obsolete potentially. So, but Adobe has still continued to grow their earnings, and their forecasts have been looking very, very strong still, even for the future. And the fact that they're still sitting at 220 to me is like just insane. Like I couldn't believe it got under $200. This is a stock that was trading at over $500 at one point, and I know that not all stocks are going to do that for the whole time, but I think out of all the stocks that could have been impacted by AI the most, I feel like Adobe was one of them that got absolutely just hammered because of the fear of Adobe being so obsolete. But I think Adobe's still trying to work ways around to incorporate more AI into their own software. So, I really like Adobe still at these valuations, and I keep playing out the numbers, and it just comes in undervalued like over and over again. And it's interesting. So I don't know if the market just is so fearful of it that it doesn't want to go all in yet, or there's something that we're not seeing behind the scenes. But when I've looked at the numbers, it's like their earnings are beating. They have their guidance is looking pretty good for the future, forward guidance, and then just sells off. And I'm like, okay, I don't know how. Like, it's interesting to me. So I've really liked Adobe for a while. And I know Ryan and I talked about Adobe for a while too, about maybe like a potential for it for sure.
Yeah, software is going to rebound. The AI fears, in my opinion, are pretty overblown in terms of what all it can do when what all it can replace at this point in time. So yeah, I think you kind of throw a dart at the board of software and come out pretty happy with the result. Maybe even like just the software ETF, I'm sure you could do well too. But there's a few in there I think are going to do a little bit better than others. Adobe looks pretty prime. I want to see this knife. I don't want to catch the falling knife, and the retracement's been pretty crazy on a huge time frame. But I do think that there is definitely a play to be made at some point here. It's just like, oh man, when is that? And yeah, maybe the bottom's in. We'll have to wait and see.
I mean, that's the thing, where you look at the stock over and over again, and it's like it'd be one thing if there was like a big earnings problem and you read through their transcripts, you read through what they're saying on their earnings calls and reports, and like they're not sitting there being like, we're in trouble, we're drowning. Like if you were to compare the two, like for example, like for me, I know Trade Desk was the hot one last year. The Now one got absolutely obliterated because of because of Claude and Anthropic and all that with like their advertising and everything. And Trade Desk like came out and said they're struggling with that a little bit. And even Trade Desk has I feel like has gotten. I think Adobe got slaughtered even more than Trade Desk, and I can't believe that. I don't know what the percent might be for it. I know Trade Desk was trading like very high, like $100 something at one point when it got added to the S&P, or close to $100, or over $100 it looks like, and then all of a
Trade
sudden
Desk has been just obliterated.
Yeah, it's been absolutely
way worse off
obliterated.
than Adobe.
Yeah, so it's just it's and their earnings reports haven't been bad either, but like they usually they'll say like oh, like we're having some challenges for the forward guidance, we're not really quite sure about it, but then they'll usually do pretty good compared to Adobe, who'll be like, nope, we look good, and then they'll be like, okay, down 3%. So it's I don't know. I think that Adobe is the biggest one that people are fearful of with this AI thing, but I think it's going to subside at some point, and I think when it does, I think Adobe's going to do very, very well. I don't know when. Obviously, nobody does, but I think it's definitely one that could do very well. Same thing like Salesforce. I know Salesforce is a big one as well. I know that after their last earnings report, Salesforce, I believe, took out a loan to buy back shares, which I thought was interesting. So they're like, yeah, we're going to take out a loan on, they took out a loan to then buy back shares. So they're that confident to not only buy back shares, but buy them back on a loan. I think it's pretty interesting to think about. So, I think Salesforce was another one that I think, has been getting pretty, I think they're down like 37% in the year or something like that. I'm not actually quite sure what the numbers are, but Salesforce, I think same thing. When you have a company saying that we're going to buy back shares with loans, I mean, that means they must have some sort of confidence, I feel like, because who just blindly would do that? But I don't know. That was another one I was looking at as well.
Yeah, Salesforce looks like it has some pretty strong candles on the 5-year chart here in terms of potential reversal. I mean the potentially just leaving in a limit there at like 126 and trying to catch like that full bottom could be the play too, because there's just so many plays right now. So many different places you can put your money that it's cash is a fantastic position, and if you can actually get that value on those extreme bottles for those extreme reversals, you can make a ton of money. So yeah, Salesforce, yeah, I would agree. It's looking pretty good.
Yeah,
maybe looking like it's pretty close to the bottom at least. Man, all these software stocks, you're just looking like it's falling knife. It's brutal. It's brutal. I mean, same with drone stocks. Benny,
yeah.
What stocks are you watching right now? Any new ones since last time? It's been 2 weeks. It's been a while since I've been on, so I want to hear from you.
Everything's been beaten down. All the stocks we watch or invested in. I'm still liking Safe Pro very much. Copen's been pushed down a little bit here the last couple of weeks. Lantronix, I'm liking them. We got some more stuff coming out about these guys. The Safe Pro and Lantronix, I think they're cooperating on some stuff. Let's see. But the whole sector, all of the drone stocks, I tell you, shout out to some folks. They finally got that turnaround they've been looking for on AeroVironment. It had a really good reported a good quarter, and so it's bucking the trend on most of them. Most of the stocks, Red Cat and Ondas, and just a bunch of them. Lightpath and Amprius, they all got beat down here these last couple of weeks. But
I mean, if AeroVironment can actually get through this 217 resistance channel and break through that, I mean, wow, we could run all the way up near $300. So I think it's a very, very interesting setup right now, where if it goes through that, it's gonna run. It's got room to run too. I mean, this is the key level it's gonna be tested. So that could be a fantastic trade. Though, I mean, it's already kind of really come up since the low there. I would rather just be invested in some of these other names that haven't made that same move, like RCAT, like Ondas, things like that I think are near bottoms or a broken multi-year support.
Right. Well, I think ultimately there's gonna, they just came out they got some Army contracts, some big re-ups on those switchblades, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot of flux happening in that in that whole space. AeroVironment is still underwater from a year ago. I don't think it's above where it was a year ago, much less its highs. It got up there over $400 there before it really started, before it rolled over. You guys were talking about Adobe. I'm not so confident about Adobe. I think there's just a lot of everybody and their brother is using AI to make everything from avatars and logos to memes and everything else. There's that company Canva. I see them advertising a good bit. They are going directly after Adobe. And on the software side of things, I'm not so sanguine about Salesforce, but I do think ServiceNow, I think, and Palantir, some of, there's going to be some winners or some big names that are going to withstand this market wide, sell off, because they're going to come back. They're not so easily replaced. But man, that I think it's Benioff, the CEO from Salesforce. He's a legend, for building that company. But I just don't see how Salesforce is intertwined with all of the workflows and the back office type stuff that ServiceNow is with the Fortune 500 companies. Before AI and this onslaught of apps and everything, there's a lot of mom and pop shops going to Salesforce for that basic customer resource management type software. But it's so easy, and there's just so many competitors nipping at their heels. I think there's definitely going to be the ones like Palantir or ServiceNow that can defend the moat, whereas some of these others, Adobe's got a big hill to climb, in my view. Just my take on it. But just on what y'all were just talking about with those companies there.
I was thinking about also, I know that one that's been really, really beaten down is Oracle as well. Because now you're talking about, like the software and I was just thinking about it because when I'm on YouTube and I'm watching videos, the ads in between, it's they're advertising NetSuite for Oracle. I'm like, oh, okay. So so they keep on trying to, Oracle's trying to have that AI built into their NetSuite software, and they're trying to push that out. So they're trying to incorporate the AI into it so they don't get left behind. Which again, just like what you guys were saying earlier with, Adobe, they might be falling behind the AI trend. It might be too late for them. We obviously, it's all about how much they can integrate it in and how much they can bring it in to keep their customers, retain their customers, maybe bring it back. But I know Oracle being down, I think last month or so, it's down 30%. It's been absolutely just slaughtered. And so I had a small position on it because, just like I know JT, you look at, Trader Daddy, we had a lot of option data come in on Oracle right before market close Thursday. A lot of bullish call options were opened up. It was $3 million in call options on Oracle for August. So I was like, okay, let me do a little bit of I did a put credit spread on it, just kind of, if it goes down to 130, cool, I'll take my loss, but give me a little bit of wiggle room for it. But I mean, I don't know how much more Oracle can be down by, because don't they have? They're still the ones that have the American side of TikTok, right? That's also part of it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how they could still be just getting absolutely obliterated like this, because once there was hype around them buying out part of TikTok, it was skyrocketing, and now it's not a rumor. They actually do own it, and I don't know. So I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on Oracle, but that was one of the ones I've been looking at as well.
I mean, the technicals, the setup looks absolutely prime. We just had this full liquidity sweep all the way down to support on the 1 year, right at 135. So I mean, the risk is we do break through 135 and then we collapse and we're gonna crush further, probably towards a psychological level at 100. But if we do get that bounce, I mean, there's a ton of upside, right? Up about 100%. I'd say. Well, not 100%. 65, 70%, all the way up to 200 again. But I definitely see why they'd be opening up call options right now, because we are reaching a very, very strong support level. So yeah, Oracle does look prime. Something I would probably consider maybe buying some shares of in my own account just to hold long, because I do believe the company will succeed over time, and it is looking very oversold. There were some fears. I think I wrote an article or a note about what was happening with it, but I can't remember off the top of my head. There was some fear. There's some reason why it was absolutely collapsing after a strong earnings report and when it absolutely exploded earlier in the summer. But yeah, Oracle is definitely one I would keep on my radar for sure, and that's definitely a good one to call out there, Fridge.
I know that some of even the Mag 7s, some people, the big fear, Microsoft's been so far behind this year, I think, because their capex spending has been just through the roof to try to keep up with the AI, push and the AI drive. And I think investors are you're spending, so much money on capital expenditures to try to push AI. It's like that's going to overtake your net. You're going to lose your revenues if you're increasing all that. So I don't know if maybe Oracle has something similar with that. I'm not really sure, but I know that like, Microsoft has been, one of the lagging Mag 7s this year because, they're like, oh, like I remember like their first quarter earnings were phenomenal. They're like, oh, we're increasing CapEx spending. And people are like, oh, that's bullish. And they're like, no, it's not, because they're spending way too much now, like to try to push this AI hype here. And so I think that's just why it's been just pulled back ever since. It's been just on a downtrend because they're like, there's good CapEx spending and there's too much cap spending. And I think they hit the point of there being over the amount of what they probably should be doing for AI especially. So I think that's why some of these stocks that like, want to keep on growing their AI, sections, but I think investors saying, hey, you're spending way too much on this. Like, is it worth it anymore for me as an investor to buy into this hype, So
a lot of people, I think that I actually just put up a comment that we got on YouTube from Crypto Clueless about how a lot of the sentiment on software and why it's falling is based on the potential promise of it being irrelevant, but then there's no confirmation of that being the case. It's the same thing with like UMAC, right? When that absolutely exploded because we might get an investment right from the government, but there was no confirmation. Nothing changed with the business itself, so it went up from 14 to 35. I think it was up like 60% in a day, something absolutely ridiculous, and then came back down all the way down to 18 from 35. So yeah, I never try to like invest on like promises. I always want I'll invest on the story, on the use case, on actual contracts and promises of contracts. Well, not usually promises, but I essentially like to invest based on like where the company's going, how it's going to build, and not we might see this random thing with AI happen that's going to launch it to oblivion.
Yeah, and I mean, I know a lot of people have compared this AI bubble to the .com bubble back in 01, but I know a lot of people make the argument that it's not. And again, I don't remember much of the .com bubble. I was like 6 years old, so I don't remember much of it at the time period. I have no idea. But you look back at a lot of the data, and a lot of people were saying that like the bubble in 2001 with like the internet.com bubble was a lot of, like you're saying, it was a lot of promises, and then they undelivered on everything, and then it just popped the whole thing because it was like there's all this like hype behind something that like nobody actually like could have like profits turn from it. And a lot of people have said that the AI bubble is different because you can actually see the profits that come in through the spending and through the expansion in the AI sections. Like, you could see NVIDIA's profits through it. You could see Micron's profits through it. You could see SanDisk's profits through it. And so that's why some of these valuations are insane to me. Like for me, like I'm not buying SanDisk anywhere close to this value. I can't believe SanDisk has ran this much in the first place in this whole end of year to date. Like it's absolutely insane. But, it's if they're seeing the valuations there, they're seeing the potential there. Micron, same thing. Then people are buying into it. So I think it's a little bit different. I get what you mean, JT, definitely, and I agree with you. It's like, if you're just going to say that it's going to be there, it's like, okay, sure. Like, just because you say it, and I think we've learned that a lot with this administration, saying things and actually doing things are not the same thing. Like
28 peace treaty deals or something like that, where it's like,
we were
it's
negotiating
open, straight's open.
We've done like 10 different peace treaties so far this year, I think already. Like he's probably signed so many of them in his head or whatever the case is. But anyways, I think it's the same thing. You could say all these things are promises, but then it's like, can you deliver on those? And the minute you don't deliver on those, that's when those investors are like, we're out, we're pulling money out, we don't care, it's over. And then that's why you see those big corrections, those big pullbacks, all that kind of stuff. So I completely understand what you mean by that for sure.
I love that take. I mean, because I feel like I can't really do a blanket statement for that. It's different depending on what sector you're looking at. What is the news? What is the prediction on? Because I think I actually contradicted myself because a lot of things I invested in are going to be off like a story of what could happen. But there's a time and a place of like my predictions based on actual fundamentals, and then my predictions based on like, okay, is AI really going to crash this? No, I think that's just like fear mongering.
Yeah, for sure. I know that one of the ones I'm building a bigger position in is Supermicro. I know they've been getting absolutely beaten down the last like 2 weeks because they had like they had the dilution for it because and it's interesting because they had this big sell off on this dilution of $7 billion to raise money for it. But I think people just saw the word dilution, were like, oh, it's over. And dilution isn't always a bad thing for companies, I know SoFi did a dilution a while ago, and they've kind of rebounded back to it because they're trying to raise more money. But Supermicro's dilution for $7 billion was because they need help fulfilling their backlogs, which is like $40 billion of backlog orders. So and I will say this a little bit also, kind of going off what you're saying, it's backlog orders, but what happens if those companies are like, you're taking too long, we're taking our money and going somewhere else with it? Is that going to reduce their backlogs? I don't really know. Obviously, I don't work for the company, but everybody saw a $7 billion dilution. They freaked out. And they sold the whole thing off. And then that was a huge thing. And then they had a raid last week in Taiwan because of all that, illegal smuggling they were doing with everything. That was a little bit of a sell-off too, but I think it's at a really strong support level. It's like 27.75 is my key support level I look at for it. Usually around that level is what I'm looking at for me. And so I'm selling cash secure puts at like 27.50. I have one open right now at 27.5. I don't mind reducing my cost basis for that reason. But again, if you're telling me that like diluting $7 billion and then diluting $7 billion to hopefully fill your backlog of $40 billion when the market cap is $18 billion or $19 billion, like it's not a dilution of fear. It's like we have so many orders, we can't sustain all this. We need more capital to fulfill these orders. If they can fulfill those backlogs, like it's going to be a very undervalued company for sure. And I know they're also partnered with SpaceX as well, which just went IPO recently. So, I'm long on Supermicro for a long time. Am I going to be sitting at a loss for a little while? Potentially. I think there's a lot of fear in this company, especially because of, if you guys remember, like back in, I forgot what year it was. I think it was like 2 years ago where they had the audit problem. This thing ramps like $1,000 a share. Then they had a huge auditing problem. I forgot what it was, and they just split afterwards. But they had an auditing problem, and people lost all faith and confidence in it. So when this illegal smuggling came out of chips over in China, they had a huge problem as well, and people were like sold off the fear again. I don't know. I still feel like it's definitely something that I don't mind holding for a long term at this level here for sure. And and I will say the IVs, the premiums are very, very nice on this company. So I'll take some paychecks, like you were saying before, JT. I'll take these paychecks and get paid to own shares, no problem. Like it's cool.
Yeah, SMCI is an interesting one. I mean, their product is just so important for infrastructure and infrastructure growth. But yeah, it's just some of like the housekeeping stuff, the audits, that what's going on behind closed doors has me like a little bit spooked. But I can't deny that the value at these levels is very extreme, and I think it is worth the risk under 30 for an upside target of at least 60 again. So yeah, I definitely like those plays for sure. And I think just talking to the audience here, so with some of the production increases, we can now actually put questions from YouTube and X up on the stage. So if you guys have questions and you're asking us on those live chats on those platforms, we can actually throw your questions up on the stage and get them answered. So if you guys do have questions about anything for Fridge, anything for Benny, anything for me, anything about the market in general, throw those comments in the chats, and then we'll get them answered at the end.
Hey, Fridge, is your wife a teacher?
Yeah, she's a teacher at the middle school. So we're off the same time, which is, it's great. We're off the whole summer now.
Nice.
So she does middle school science. So
all right.
She got me really invested into crime scene shows and all that stuff. She was big in forensics. She did her undergrad was in forensics. She worked with a lot of people who worked on. Some of her professors were like major. Were like major people in like major cases, like serial killer cases and stuff like that. So it's very, very cool. And she got me into like all these crime scene shows now. So now whenever a new documentary comes out, I'm all over it. I'm watching it. I'm excited for it. So, but yeah, she was showing me like all these really cool things about it. But yeah, we're off the summer together. It's great. We're honeymooning in 2 weeks over to Europe, which I'm super excited to go see. I've never flown here before, so I'm excited for it.
Nice. Congratulations. Yeah, I'm definitely on the wedding and the trip to Europe. Where are you going in Europe?
So we're going to Prague, Vienna, and Budapest for 10 days.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, very nice.
Czech Republic, Hungary, and Austria. So 10 days over there. So take some pictures. I'm going to have to now front load all my YouTube stuff. So that way I don't just like not upload for 10 days. So now I'm going to be like grinding a lot of videos out, for the next like 2 weeks or so to try to get myself ahead of the game. So I have a nice little bank ready to upload when I'm out. So that way, even though I'm not there, I still get some, people still get to watch some content I do. So
right on. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Bless y'all's heart there. That school teaching, that's a calling for sure, man.
I will tell you, being an educator, like I tell my students every year, because they talk about like, oh, like I ask them what they want to do. They're like, oh, I might be a teacher. I'm like, don't get into if you get into the job for summers off, like it's just not worth the energy for you, because the stress, like the 180 school days that I have to go through, like day in and day out, like there's some weeks where I'm working like 50, 60 hours a week. And as we're salaried, it doesn't matter how many hours you work, but like it's just how much the workload we do have to do. For me personally, at least, you know, I'm working 50, 60 hours a week, and it's not overtime pay like the hourly pays is usually. Yeah. So it's definitely not worth it if the summer's off. The 180 days of stress, and you know, just there's times where I come home and I'm like, just it's so much overstimulation. It's like you're asked like 500 questions in like one day. Like it's insane. Yeah. And all the questions you can ever imagine. So it's definitely not for everybody. It's definitely a certain, you know, calling for sure, like you were saying.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, my sister, she's a retired school teacher. Now she works in the administration, you know, teaching some of the younger teachers. My best man's wife, they were high school sweethearts. She's a retired school teacher. Nice. I got a lot of them around me. Yeah,
definitely is a stressful job, that's for sure. But I tell people all the time, I would not change it for the world. If you asked me to go back to college and do another degree, I'd do the same degree still. I wouldn't change it for anything. I can't think of anything else. And I'm sure people see it in my videos and they hear when I explain things. Like, I'm so passionate. I'm so excited to explain and to teach however I want to teach things. Like, I'm probably one of the most energetic teachers at my school, where I'm running around. I'm super excited. I'm like cheering for kids and stuff like that. Yeah. You know, like I don't think I could find any other job I'd ever want to do in my life, honestly.
I was just about to say, you just use the word energy, but yeah, I can feel your energy when I'm watching your videos, and yeah, even here on the show, you're passionate about it. I bet, yeah, you're definitely a good teacher, man. You know that, and that feeling too when somebody puts things together, you know, and you see that light bulb go off in their eyes, you know, that's gotta be a great feeling.
I appreciate that. I will tell you, the one thing that people have always asked me is, you know, like, how do you do it? And it's like, it's one thing to know a subject. It's another thing to teach the subject to somebody who doesn't know the subject.
Right.
Like, I can sit there and say all these things related to calculus I want to, but my ninth graders will have no idea what I'm talking about. So it's like taking these like very abstract topics and then like kind of leveling it to a level to build them up to that thinking is a whole different game by itself, you know. I've seen it even in college. When I was in college, you know, I don't know if you guys had the same experience when you're in college. Some professors just know everything, but they can't relay it to you in a way that makes you understand it to meet them at their level. So it's definitely an art to try to figure out, okay, this is where they're at. How do I get them to where I want them to be at without putting too much in at once and confusing them the whole time, you know? So it definitely takes it takes a lot of time too. This is not my, you know, I'm doing it for 7 years. So my first year, it was awful. Like I probably didn't explain half the things right, but then it takes time to learn over the years to progress yourself.
Right on.
What was your favorite subject when you were growing up in just to learn about?
Honestly, I mean, I've been a math guy ever since I can remember. I would ace every single math class. I can't do English. I can't do history. I can't do like any of those things. I'm one of those people who are just like, what's the right? There's one answer. I need to find the answer, and that's it. Like, there's no interpretation of like you might be right or you might be wrong. It's like, no, I know the answer is this. You can't prove me otherwise. I proved why it's this, and you can't argue with me. So I like the one shot answer only because it just makes it just. I like to know that it's right or wrong. Just tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong, and I move on my life. Like, it's all I need to know, you know? So I've always been a math person for that reason. Also, I'm someone who likes to get to the point where I had to write like 5-page papers about, I could probably get the whole topic across in like 5 minutes and have to write 5 pages of it for the same thing. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. That's just my way of looking at it, you know? So I tell some of my students, I say, you know, the way I look at it is if you go to a business meeting, you have 5 minutes to explain your thesis or your topic or whatever you got to explain. You can't do it in 5 pages. You got to do it in 5 minutes. So you better get to your point quick if you want to be successful in the business world, I feel.
Absolutely. What's the favorite, like you make a ton of YouTube content. What's your favorite kind of YouTube video to make?
Ooh, actually, that's a good question. Honestly, I like all of them, obviously, because I wouldn't be putting them out there if I hated every single one of them. But I'm looking at my channel now to see what I really, really liked. Honestly, I really just enjoy I enjoy the updates that I provide about like my net worth and where I've grown my money from and my salary, because it gives me like a nice video to look back on and see and to be like, hey, like this is where I was. Like I look at my first video I ever made on YouTube. 2023 was my first video where it was like a net worth one. And I look at the numbers, I'm like, oh my God, there was that. And now 3 years later, now I'm up to this number. It's the nice nostalgia to feel like, look where you started from nothing,
Right.
and now look where you are now. So those ones are really, really fun for me because I really, really, I could see the connection to it. I also like my Wall Street bet videos I do, which are just hysterical to watch because I'm just like, this is like the most insane trades I've ever seen in my life on Wall Street bets. And I'm just I'm here for it because of how like this dude put like $1 million into like Wendy's. I'm like, okay, cool. Yep. That sounds awesome. Like I'm not doing that, but sounds good. Sounds good to me. But so those ones are more fun for me because I get to sit there and just be like, okay, well, this is a little bit of an out there trade. Never would have guessed I'd see someone putting $1 million into Wendy's, but to each their own. Feel free, I guess. But so definitely the ones where it's my personal growth are my favorites, and then like the entertaining ones, the Wall Street ones, the stock trading ones are really fun to do still. Just those kind of things. I like to look at data and look back at the data and see where I was at and then see where I am now, because it really kind of helps me like progress. I track data on like everything. Now I'm tracking data on like how much, revenue I bring in from this YouTube, from all the different platforms I'm doing this now, like how much money I'm bringing in. So I could see the growth now a year out. Where was I and now where am I at now? So I just love the numbers. So anything that has to do with like data, spreadsheets, my pride and joy is my spreadsheet where it's like I have like 100 stocks where it's just like all these different valuations. Like I just love these things. So, I'm a spreadsheet kind of guy.
Hell yeah. Let's see. Do we want to start getting some questions from chat, or do we have any other subjects we want to copy right now?
Yeah, absolutely. On any questions anyone has for us or Fridge. Yeah, Fridge. I watched your video. I think it was this morning on what you make. You went from week to week to week, and some weeks you were doing the tutoring and just all the different things like that. But I don't think you guys get paid enough for what you do, even with the summers off, to put up with, the different things you gotta deal with as a public school teacher, you gotta take all the kids. Right. And, and they're just kids, they're just, they're not little adults, right? They don't know what they're doing,
Yeah, so that video, I love that video because, even again, I don't care if the videos hit like 100, 200 views or 20, 30 views. I really don't care either way. It's more of just like my journey. And just to see, like, I took on so many side jobs this last year because I had a wedding to pay for and everything in between. So I was just like, anything that I could take a job for, I'm taking that money and throwing into this wedding. Just to watch the numbers, I was like, oh my God, I made like this much extra money just by doing side jobs was pretty cool to see. But again, I think it just goes back to like, you want to know who I am, like, how much I made last year. You could see it. It's all right there. Right. The numbers are so specific. You see everything. Like, what I make, how much I made after taxes and deductions and everything. Like, you saw my salary. It's not anything close to six figures. It's like halfway to six figures or whatever it is. So, again, those are my videos I love to do because it's just full transparency. You get to see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm glad that you watched it. I appreciate you watching because it was a really, really fun thing to make. And again, the spreadsheets are what I'm all about. I never show like my pay stubs or my bank accounts because I know for a fact one day I'm going to leak that and it's going to be a huge problem. So I just avoid it all together by just putting it in a spreadsheet and be like, you want to believe me? Believe me. If you don't believe me, then okay, whatever. Like,
right.
We got another question from Gecko here. Crypto Clueless. I'm going to throw it up on the screen there. With everyone talking about optics sector stuff right now, let's get a few favorites. So I believe we're talking just optics, photonic stuff as well. Anything with like IR lenses. So, I mean, obviously one of my favorites is LightPath. Just love what they're doing with germanium-free alternatives, with thermal cameras being such a thing, with drones becoming essentially built right here with American infrastructure rollouts. We're going to be seeing a lot more need for IR cameras and lenses, and the germanium bottleneck is still very much a problem. So that's one of my favorite ones. I think what is an AEVA related to that as well. I saw the question. I was kind of trying to think of what stocks on my watch list are specifically for optical things.
I know that there's AAOI. I know is another one, applied optoelectric or whatever that one is. I know it's a big one that a lot of people talk about as well. As AAOI is one of them.
I see that up on Trader Daddy a lot actually. When it comes to options chain stuff, that was definitely being highly traded.
I saw. I did a trade on Light as well. LIT Lumentum Holdings. I know another one. That one was down like 9% on Thursday. Then a lot of bullish call options came in for this week, and the 31st, it was like a couple million on each. So I went a little bit bullish on them, followed them with it to see what goes on with it.
AOI.
That was on Light.
Yeah, Light was one that I went on because it was down 9%. And there's a lot of call options that came in for 770 strike. Some of them were expiring this week. I was like, that's very, very short trade for it. And then the other ones were expiring July 31st as well. So it had a pretty big pullback. It was up at like $1,000, I think, at one point, or close to it, I believe.
Yeah, this one's been on an absolute tear.
Yeah, almost 11.
Wow. Yeah, I saw a lot of option flow coming through. This one, we'll have to see where support actually stands for Light, just with tapering off from all-time highs here. It looks like we have been getting consistent lower highs. So I kind of like, like 650-ish for a bounce. Maybe we get one here, but it's kind of a no man's land when it comes to support levels. But this was kind of just a rocket ship up. So who knows where the actual support's going to end up here. Definitely, low 500s. I like that a lot. But otherwise, we'll see. We'll need multiple just data points for bottoms to really grind that out. But I mean, man, look at the RSI on the high time frame. That thing is oversold like no other.
Big time.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I did just like I did Oracle on Thursday. I did a put credit spread on Light as well. It's 700, 695. For this week, it's a little bit more of a risky trade because it's obviously only a week till expiration on it. But option flow is showing a little bit more bullish sentiment for it. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let me give myself a little bit of leg room. And my hope is that we get a bounce tomorrow morning, and I can just close out tomorrow morning easy. Probably hopefully 50% of my max premium on that one. So that'd be a nice little trade there to make decent money on it. But so that's what I went with for it. Again, just like some small trades. I was trying to play around with Trader Daddy a little bit more, getting more familiar with the software, looking at option flow and what comes in and what goes out. And it's really, really cool actually to see. And, I'm trying to teach Ryan how to do it because Ryan is using it. I'm trying to show him all those tutorials. I'm not sure if you watch any of those tutorials that we do, but people love it because I'm a slice of cake. I don't know why, but they love it for some reason. Yeah, him and I are, kind of spitballing some ideas, looking at different data points, and I'm really excited to keep on using it. But yeah, so went in with Light, went in with Oracle a little bit. We'll see what happens this week. I went in also with I did a CoreWeave position as well, and I'm hoping that CoreWeave has a little bit of a rebound. Also, I'm hoping at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, CoreWeave has been one I've been watching too. I mean, I really want some long-term exposure to CoreWeave here, and it's been hard to actually find a level because obviously I don't want to buy until we actually see that support forming, and then I'll buy into some additional strength. But yeah, it's been a wild ride for the CoreWeave investors for sure. So we'll have to see. I mean, yeah. Oh gosh, I would say maybe mid 70s, right? Because I don't know if you're actually able to grab it here at low 70s. If it dips into that, but I think you might be able to catch a nice little dip with like some sort of limit buy around 75. Could be surgical, but I think CoreWeave, I mean, long term, absolutely needed for AI infrastructure. Going to be, a great trade in the long run.
For sure. I know that Ryan and I were talking about it, and he goes, it's interesting because you look at like Meta, like CoreWeave, NBIS, they all sold off when Meta came out with the news about their own data centers. And he goes, but it's interesting though, if you think about it, because the next day Meta sold off. So it kind of gave back the gains they made from that announcement. But you didn't see recovery in CoreWeave, in NBIS. So it's like, it was interesting. They already priced it back out almost in Meta, but they didn't price back into CoreWeave, NBIS, and the stocks that were really heavily impacted by it. So he goes, it's really interesting that like that kind of worked out where Meta pumped, then pulled it back, and then CoreWeave just dumped and then dumped again, and then NPIS dumped and dumped again. So it was interesting to watch. So I'm curious to see what it does this week for sure, if it gets some sort of rebound because of that.
I mean, yeah, I feel like it definitely could catch a bit at these levels too. We'll see. I've just been, with all my entries right now, just because there's so many things we watch, I'm just greedy on all of them, and then say, okay, one of them actually hits that limit. Okay, I'm going big on that, just if I have high conviction in it.
Right. No, and sometimes that's the best way of doing it. Just having the high. Once you have the high conviction, just go for it. Like. Especially if you're buying shares, I tell people all the time, who like, oh, if I want to start investing, I'm like, well, don't do options, because options, you have a limited time for things. Shares is you can hold it for 5, 10, 15 years, and then, you'll be able to see those returns, where it's like with options, unless you exercise the options, you're only getting it for like a year or two, and that's about it. So, and options are a great strategy, obviously, for leverage, but I always when I do those Wall Street bet videos, I'm like, it's good that at least like so-and-so put like $1 million into the stock here. At least they bought shares and not options. Because the shares, okay, like you have time. If it goes down 5% tomorrow, it can come back up, 5-10% in the next couple of years. But your option contract is a whole different situation to deal with. It's a whole different beast to kind of maneuver and manage. So I think there's a lot more stress around the option side of things, obviously, than just holding the shares for long term. So, that's why I say, hey, unless you really want to be, you got to be very, very understanding about how the options chain works and like what you're buying into, and not, if you don't know it, just buy shares and hold it for long term.
Yeah,
they'll usually pay a lot better for you. Yeah,
they don't expire.
Yeah, unless they get delisted, then they expire. But
yeah, right.
you get delisted, then yeah, it's expired. I'm trying to think about other stocks I've looked at recently.
Yeah, I just realized that the Substack chat, I believe, is not feeding into our other chats here that we're putting up on screen. So if you did have questions on Substack, if you could repost those into the live chat now, I do have that open so I can see them. So sorry about that. But if you have any questions and you're watching from Substack specifically, if you could repost those, that'd be great.
Yeah, if you have any questions for me, feel free. Just don't ask my social security number. I can't give that to you. That's all I ask. No social security number, no credit card information, not my address. Everything else is different, but doesn't matter either way.
I have a question actually, Fridge, for you. So I like you have that series where like you buy a little bit of Bitcoin every day. I thought that was actually a really cool series. We had a comment way earlier from Devil's Reaps about I think it was an issue with quantum. I know in the future it's going to be an issue with quantum being able to actually crack these crypto wallets and different things. But right now there was apparently some sort of article written about QCS cracking these wallets now. Have you heard anything about that? Just being a Bitcoin investor?
I don't know if it was, because I don't know if he's saying it's about quantum computing or not. I don't think it was quantum computing, but I think somebody used Claude to actually remember their Bitcoin or their crypto wallet phrase or something like that, I believe. I don't know how they did it, but it was something like they used, I believe. I wonder if I can find it online, but I'm pretty sure they used Claude to crack open their Bitcoin wallet they had like years and years ago. Which is interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah,
man, that'd be the best thing you could find. Just a little flash drive at the dump. You're like, oh, well, what's on this? It's like cat pictures. No, it's actually like 10 Bitcoin. Oh, like gosh, you got to think someone's lost, millions, maybe billions, in just forgetting that they had, this wallet somewhere. It's like finding hidden treasure.
Yeah, so it says, so it's an article from Benzinga, how Claude helped recover 395,000 in Bitcoin without cracking crypto. Believe it or not. So you had 5 Bitcoin on an old wallet back on their computer. They tried for 8 weeks to brute force a password on their blockchain wallet. Tested 3.5 trillion combinations. And then the recovery happened when the user dumped my whole college computer into Claude as a last-ditch effort. The AI assistant found an old wallet backup from December 2019. The user had encrypted with the password already written down in a notebook.
Wow.
And his password was LOL 420 F the police was his password. I'm not going to say the actual word in case you know monetization. I've learned that over the years on live streaming to make sure not to use inappropriate words for it, but that was his password that he used for it apparently, and it cracked the key. Isn't that interesting? So we don't even need Quantum to do it, I guess. So I think it started looking like Claude's already doing it.
Co-work, man. Co-work.
Right. I don't know. What are your guys? We're talking about, you know, Claude and everything. What are you guys' thoughts about how? So I'm not gonna ask you guys the questions. What are your thoughts about how OpenAI is delaying their IPO until next year, most likely? Any thoughts on that?
I'm much more on the Anthropic side of things in terms of AI companies. I usually like to stay away from AI companies in general. I love AI infrastructure. Picks and shovels, not actually going for the gold, because we know that trillions are going to be put into the AI business. We don't know that trillions are going to come out, via the end product with things like Anthropic and OpenAI. So it's not really an IPO I'm looking at, similar to SpaceX, right? Where I think it's going to pump, and then I think we got to fade it pretty quickly after that. I'm just worried about them actually being able to make good on these promises of being able to produce, enough revenue to match the outrageous spending we're seeing. I'll probably be sitting that one out for sure. I'll keep investing in semiconductors and chips and memory and energy and the things that actually like power the AI. Because I know at the end of the day, those companies are going to be printing because there's these giants like Anthropic and OpenAI that are going to pay to make sure those things get done.
Love that. Betty, how about you? What do you think about the OpenAI?
I haven't used ChatGPT that much, but I have been getting used to using Claude. I'm no expert at it, and it can definitely help. I recognize where it's very useful, but damn if Claude doesn't say some dumb things sometimes, and sometimes if sometimes it'll just say something that's just completely upside down, like I would ask it a question about Ondas, and it might tell me something. I just tell Claude right away. Claude, I quit reading that whole page you just wrote because the first sentence was completely untrue, and you're going to make me look stupid if I go out here and start quoting you. Thank God, Claude, I knew more than you know about this subject to know. So why am I even using you? So I don't know, man. I think they got a long way to go. Honestly, this LLM, large language model, it's built. It's nothing but just the talk to text or the pre-filling. When you start typing in a search and it start or you're typing in a text and it's finishing the word for you. It's just zeros and ones, and it's predicting what the next word is going to be. And I think that OpenAI and Anthropic and they're competitors, but they're acting like that there's only going to be one winner. Like I remember a day when there was a half a dozen web crawlers or browser windows, right? That different ones you could use. And it turns out that Google won that. And I guess some people have heard of Bing, but nobody even uses it, right? And but I think on the AI stuff, there's just such a wide universe where it's going to be applied that I don't see an Anthropic or an AI being the winner take all like Google was on the search engine wars from 20-25 years ago. So ultimately I think that the LLMs are like what Alex Karp says are going to more or less be commoditized. That right now you've got Elon Musk with XAI and all of the data center he's building with his big conglomerate thing is turning around and trying to he wants to rent out the compute. And didn't Meta say the same thing about that? That they were going to start renting out some of their compute or competing with Amazon now, with Amazon Web Services, with all this stuff that they built with all these chips. So I think they're, running into the issues of whether it's going to be commoditized, whether or not people find it actually useful. The large language models. To be a teacher on the other side of things, the English class and all the history classes where you got to write papers and whatnot. It's one thing you get a piece of paper and finish the math problems and show you their work, but all of the essays that they got to write and short answers and the actual academic work, it's scary what's going on there. But I guess to answer your question there, I think that we're going to end up with a lot of little AI things, very targeted and applied in various industries. And so there's going to be a bunch of small winners, in my opinion, rather than just one large winner. And it's the people like the Palantirs of the world that can take all that data and really do something with it, rather than just, make funny pictures and memes and do your homework for you.
Yeah, for sure. I know that one of the things that I always think about when a company goes from an IPO listing to like staying, like we're going to delay our IPO for a while and staying more in private sector. I know that a lot of companies are choosing to stay private now longer than go in public markets because of, how much more money they bring in compared to public markets potentially. And, there's been, if you look at like data over the last 5-10 years, a lot more companies are choosing to stay private longer because of, they can raise more money that way. They also don't have to release their financials as frequent as a public market does. So I also wonder on the other side of things, are they doing it also because they stay private for longer? Maybe their financials aren't as good as what they might think they are, and they don't have to release them as much maybe, or they just know there's more money in private equity in the private sector compared to the public markets. Maybe they're seeing what's going on with SpaceX where it pumped initially, and they realized this company is not making profitable. It's not profitable yet. It's negative in terms of profitability, and now it's getting pulling back to where it was before. I wonder if maybe they're seeing I wonder if SpaceX is kind of like put their foot in the water, put their toe in the water, and get a taste about what it's like to go IPO at such a huge valuation. $2 trillion valuation on a negative profitable basis. Like, is OpenAI going to be rethinking now the same thing as well because of what they're seeing with SpaceX maybe, or maybe it's saying that we're going to see what Anthropic does first and Claude and see what they do first in the open market before we go public, because if Anthropic does awful after IPOing, then OpenAI is like, cool, we'll stay private for longer. I don't know. Those are just kind of some different things I'm thinking about. Like, are they they're always trying to maybe think 5 steps ahead of what the rest of the market's thinking. Like, why would you go from being IPO to now saying we're going to delay IPO till next year?
Right.
So those are my thoughts to it.
Yeah, I didn't think I was actually really suspicious when they when the government and Hegseth and them got mad at Anthropic, and then now they tend to be making up. But Sam Altman, he was like, hey, government, we'll do it. And then they act like, oh yeah, we'll just throw it your way to OpenAI, and they realize that it's not quite that easy. Once a company is really being used throughout the government, you can't just sort of flip a switch and turn them off on that. But I thought when I heard last week their OpenAI floated the idea of the government taking a stake in them, and they're not even public yet. Sort of following all these other kind of unusual things that have been happening this first year and a half of this administration. Yeah. I took that as a sign of weakness, that OpenAI was asking for that to sort of, once they get that, then they're sort of propped up. And I think they see the writing on the wall that it's a lot harder. That one, there's a lot of backlash coming from the grassroots about where and how they're putting up these data centers everywhere. Mm-hmm. They're getting some pushback on that from communities. But there's also the payback on it. They're spending a lot of money on this stuff, and like JT says, we invest in the picks and shovels, and whether or not they actually can make money with the AI is a whole nother that's the $64,000 question right there for the OpenAIs of the world. How they're going to monetize it. I'm sure they got a lot of stuff up their sleeve and whatnot, and there's still time to play out for it. But from what I've seen right now, just on the large language models, they got a lot of work left to do, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
To move to the physical AI and try to put the AI in all the other applications that they want to use it in. Like I said, that's where I think it's going to end up with lots of little winners in specialized industries and areas that really can win at focusing, whether it's drug discovery or reading radiology, type stuff in medicine, cracking hard problems, math problems that have to do with some serious, astronomy and the work they're doing, putting things in space and maybe real high tech type weapons. The autonomy, that's an area where the AI is going to play a big part, but it's not going to be one winner that can deliver autonomy across lots of different industries. So that's the way I see it anyway. And what they did as far as the SpaceX IPO goes, changing all the rules and making everything just so for what? For a company that's not making any money? I think there was a lot of really important people that needed to see an exit for the money they've been investing for the last 20 years in SpaceX. And we'll see what happens with it.
I gotta ask, switching topics. Favorite pie?
Yeah. Favorite pie.
Favorite pie.
Moon pies.
I put it up there earlier. We got some questions over on Substack. Quite a few coming through. I thought we'd start putting some.
Mine's a moon pie.
Fridge. I mean, your fridge financials. So you got pie in the fridge, right? What is it?
Yeah. Where did fridge come from? Fridge.
So that name was, that was like one of my nicknames growing up in high school. I was like a bigger kid in high school, and my last name kind of plays along with it a little bit. So that's kind of where it came from. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay, Fridge Financials. All right, sounds great to me. Rolls are off the tongue. It's great. And favorite pie, man. I don't know. I would have to say probably. I'm a good old apple kind of guy. Apple pie is a nice American apple pie kind of guy. I think it would taste really good, especially this time of year in the summertime. Nice little scoop of ice cream.
Right.
I think it's peak right there for me for sure.
There you go.
Can't go wrong with that, man. I'm pumpkin pie.
Okay.
Always
Pumpkin
been.
pie.
That's always been my favorite, with some whipped cream on top.
Yeah.
Nice little Bowler out, man.
I also like if you can make a good pecan pie, I like pecan pie, but you gotta make it right. Like if it's like falling apart, I'm not eating it. It has to be like a nice sturdy, solid pecan pie. I love it.
So hey, do they make in Minnesota, JT, sweet potato pie?
Sweet potato pie.
Yeah.
I have never heard of that.
You never had a sweet potato? Oh man, yeah.
I have not, but maybe. I mean, I always like to try new things. So
yeah, man. I'll have to bring one up next time I come to Minneapolis.
I'll try it. Maybe it's a hidden gem. I never knew it was a thing. Maybe. Bigger Bus is saying thanks for the fridge for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And congratulations to all the YouTube
Appreciate
stuff.
Bigger Bus watching.
Success.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, those words are great. And again, like I said, anybody that writes anything like that, like it's just just fuels me to keep on and do more and more. When people start coming out and being like, "I hate you. Your advice is awful. Your thoughts are stupid," I'm like, okay, I guess I'm taking the channel down now. But
that's me on Instagram Shorts, man. Oh my God, some of those the comments are either bots or it's someone being like, it's the meanest thing. I'm just trying to make some content. Right. It's just I don't know. After hour release is nice to where there's not many people saying anything too crazy, but I feel like X is similar where you'll get crazy comments.
There's people that say some wild things, and like what I've learned also is that like if you look at any of my comments, like if everybody says like, oh, like this is the stupidest thing you've ever seen in your life, I'm like, okay. I always say first thing I say is thank you for taking the time to comment, smiley face, because I appreciate the comment. I appreciate any comment. You could tell me like, this is the worst shit ever. If I say, you know what, if you watch my video, even for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, I got your attention for 5 or 10 seconds out of your life. Hey, thank you for the comment, smiley face. Appreciate your feedback. I'll make sure to work on things. If you have any other ideas, let me know. Like I've never seen the idea of feeding into the negativity of people. Just for me, this is not worth it for me. You know, I'd be like, you know what? Hey, I appreciate the feedback. I'll do better next time. Don't worry. And then usually they never respond again after that. I think they just don't like the niceness from me. But you know, that's what it's all about. Is just, you know, I think being nice.
Kill them with kindness.
Kill them with kindness. Exactly. That's what I do best. You know, like, you can never say, you know, someone might say like the most mean things ever and be like, you're the stupidest person ever. I'd be like, okay, I'll work on that. Yep. I definitely didn't go to Harvard, so I'll work on it. But you know, it's, to me, you know, it's the comments, you know, you get used to it after a while. People just like writing. Like I made one video that went, that got a lot of views. I got a couple thousand views on YouTube, and it was something about, like, I think it was like the millennials or something like that. And people were like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, okay, sorry. I was going off of an article. I was reading some articles, and the articles were saying, I was just giving my perspective of things, but like they just were not like the happiest people for it. It was, where was it? It was because my title was Gen Z thinks it's okay to commit fraud, and this is why. And they did not like that video because I said Gen Z likes to commit fraud, and they're like, no, we don't. Da, 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 da. And I was like, well, it was like there was this like big problem that was a while ago where people were like figure out a way to like take money out of like JP Morgan Chase bank, like ATMs, without actually taking it out. And they were like, oh, I hacked the system, I'm getting free money or whatever. And it's like, first of all, it's illegal. What are you trying to do? And like nobody cared. And I was like, this is where the article came from. This is my title of my video, and people just didn't like it. So I thought it was really funny. But yeah, you get used to it after a while though.
We got one
JT,
more
you
question.
pull up that Amprius chart right there. It looks like on my screen.
We got a technical question over on Substack from Eric, just about our thoughts on Amprius technology, AMPX, which is a battery maker for drones, a company that I'm extremely bullish on long term. One that definitely got hit hard after that shorts report came out, and then there was an earnings debacle that sent it all the way from all-time highs in 24 down. It went back up again actually recently after that earnings, and then down again. I mean, this it what shaved half its value off. I mean, I'm buying 50%. The crap out of this right here. You know, it's like you could maybe wait for that bottom, at 9, maybe 10, somewhere in there. But I think if you can get this under $13, what it's like $13.10 right now, you're sitting at just a great long-term investment, in my opinion. I think we definitely go back above 20 by the end of this year for sure. So, yeah, I think it's been a lot of noise. They've been a little bit quiet, but their product's needed. It's another picks and shovels play. We're just seeing a ramp on drones in general. It's a market that's no longer going to be completely dominated by China. These NDA compliant batteries are going to be needed here. It's going to be a blowout pick. So yeah, I got to say Amprius, AMPX, one of my highest conviction plays at the current price and the retracement that we've seen. I think you really can't go wrong with this thing under 15.
And if you're feeling, like you're not, totally full porting it, you can do some cash care puts, and the IV is really high on these ones. Like I'm just looking at my own option chart to see what's going on for this stock here. You're looking at August 21st, which is like, a little over a month away, 47 days out. If you do the $10 one, you're looking at about $70 a premium on 1,000. So you get about 7% ROI on that one if you want to get assigned at $10 a share. So
which is insane. I mean, if you just did even like $11, $12, or even out of the money, right? A little bit. You can get some absolutely insane premiums.
Yeah, so like $10 is like a 7% ROI in about 40 days, which is very, very, that's beating the S&P easily, like no doubt at all. Annualized return for even 11 or 12 is obviously beating it. Even the $9 one, you can get filled probably close to like 40. It looks like, which even that you're looking at about 4-ish% return on that. So 4% return over 40 days, it still isn't even terrible. You probably are still going to beat the S&P annualized if you want to go super, low risk, $9 put option on that one. And you only need $900 for cash if you do cash secured for it. So if you want to get some decent money in a small position, if you have a small account, which again, I like to make videos about small accounts as well, because, everybody starts from somewhere. Not everybody starts off with like 20, 30 G's. If you have a couple $1,000s, $900 into here, cash secured put, you make, $40 or so. Pretty good ROI for about 47 days worth of locking your money, and the delta is pretty low too. So, and again, those high IVs are where those high premiums come into play. And if you have the conviction like JT's got on this one, why not? Throw $900 at it, cash can put on it, make some good money on it. And again, oh no, you bought the shares, at what, 30% discount, whatever it would be, or 25% discount. You get a 25% discount, you get the shares, and you got paid out for it. Like, why would you not do it? So that's why some people always will ask, oh, like, what is your investment strategy? How do I start investing in options? I'm like, selling options is the way to go. Selling cash good puts, cover calls, exits and enters your positions whenever you want, wherever you feel comfortable selling off at, wherever you feel comfortable buying in at, and you get paid to do it. Like, you get paid to buy up shares you want. Like, people think you're crazy. It's like, no, it's actually what you're doing. You're literally getting paid to buy into positions that you want to buy into. Like, it's a win-win. You get into at the share price you want, and you get paid out for it. So, I'm not knowing much about the stock as much, but I like to look at just kind of seeing like what the option chain looks like, the liquidity on that kind of side, the IV potentially, if you can get filled at it, how good the return is compared to, investing in the index funds. So, I mean, hey, I like it, dude. I mean, $9 gets you about 4%, $10 gets you, 7%. It's pretty dang good, I would say, in my books.
Yeah, that's fantastic alpha analysis on their Fridge. I agree as well. I mean, the fact you can get that much premium and have it fall that far still is crazy. And I mean, yeah, I'm bullish on it. So I'm thinking of doing some really aggressive cash secured puts here. And, I only do that on stocks that I'm willing to hold for, a multi-year cycle. So yeah, no, that's some great tips.
Yeah, why not? Absolutely. I mean, I'm always here. Again, I can't remember every single stock I talk about here, obviously, but, I like to look and see what kind of stocks I like that I'm bullish on for long term and then sell some puts on it, get some nice IV for it. Works out very, very nicely for me usually, so I've been happy so far to be beating my small port, at least beating the S&P so far. Not by much. I was beaten by a lot more, but I had some big pullbacks. I had a lot more small market cap stocks. Yeah, I have some small market cap stocks, and I think it's the big problem that I faced a lot is that, like, once we started talking about rate hikes now instead of rate cuts for, the near term, what gets hit the most is small caps because, you can't borrow money for cheap anymore. If you get rate hikes, you can't borrow for cheap. Small caps get hit the hardest usually. So any sort of speculative stocks, if you're wondering about, if you look and see like if the speculative stocks, like, even though Ondas is, I know, a multi-billion-dollar company, still in retrospect, it's still a smaller market cap compared to the bigger markets, right? Like, like your Mag 7s and even, there's a lot of companies that are, higher valuations and higher market caps. Those are the ones that get hit the hardest. ACHR is one I have investments in. That one gets hit pretty hard as well because it's small cap. What else do I have that's like small cap? So a lot of the ones I usually hit, I have small cap investments in, usually get hit the hardest. I have Soundhound AI is a small cap one as well, retrospect. Big Bear AI, same thing. These all get hit pretty hard when you get rate hikes priced in because they can't borrow money and they're not profitable companies. They're borrowing money to get more R&D done, to try to grow and expand their companies, become profitable. So the minute we can start pricing out rate hikes, which I don't know when that'll even happen, who knows, you'll probably see a lot more small caps do very, very well. And I'm sure, AMPX probably could do well as well. So maybe that's also why maybe it's had that big sell-off as well. Part of it with earnings, like you said. Also, again, talking about, we're now looking at, I think they're starting to talk about pricing in 2 rate hikes now for our market, which is just not going to be anywhere close to ideal for us because of, jobs data has been doing really well and inflation is still sticking around higher than we want to. So I think we can start pricing out rate hikes. I think you're going to see small caps like these do very well. It's just a matter of time.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed with that take. Look at here. So we got through our Substack questions. Looks like we were talking a bit about some massive data centers being made. Gecko was saying on the YouTube side of things. If anyone has any other questions, we'd love to hear them now. And otherwise, I think, we start wrapping up. I mean, there was a lot of good tickers. I'm really excited with that kind of rabbit hole we went down with like software again, with how big those things are going to be. And then, I love that idea with the small cap rotation. Once all this is priced in, kind of seeing some rallies there. But that rate hike is definitely going to cause an issue with liquidity and small caps. And then inflation metals will be interesting too.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of hoping that with Kevin Warsh at the helm now, I'm hoping. And obviously, he's only one person, but I'm hoping that like he can really, I think the big thing for him is that he's gonna be the one to try to push against not having a rate hike. Obviously, he's one person only, but I'm hoping that like he can be able to hopefully like talk to the other board members and we can at least stay unchanged for the near term, because once the rate hikes are coming in, that's when you probably start to see a little bit more selling pressure, because now again, can't borrow for as cheap as you want to anymore. Also, when you get rate hikes, money's going to flow out of risky plays, go into bonds, because your bonds are going to be giving you higher returns because you have higher rates. So, you're seeing that rotation go into, the bond market more. If I can get, 4 or 5% on the bond market, why would I need to go into risky stocks just to get an extra couple percent, maybe, if that? So, definitely could be very, very interesting to watch and see what happens to that one. So I think Kevin Warsh's main job now is to keep rates unchanged as much as he possibly can. Obviously, he only wants to stay in the matter, but hope is that we can get rates unchanged. We get the peace treaty figured out in the Middle East. We have oil prices, gas prices stay down for longer, and then we can hopefully get a rate cut maybe next year. I don't think we're getting anything with rates. Maybe one rate hike, I think, at the end of the year, maybe, if nothing gets figured out. But I think it's sooner the better for us at this point. But it's interesting to see the market still tries to push all-time highs with all this still too, which is really interesting to see. Like the indices are doing very, very well with all this going on with the Middle East stuff so far. I think they're kind of used to now the volatility with the Middle East conflict. And they're kind of like, okay, yeah, like you were to say we have a peace treaty. Okay, now we don't have one. Okay, now we do have one. Okay, nobody cares anymore. It's kind of like the tariff news we had last year. We're doing tariffs here, they're negotiating, then going back and forth. The market kind of like priced it out of like, okay, we're done with this stuff. Nobody cares anymore. So I think now we're kind of over it. But I do think that if you want to get that next leg up, you do need that peace treaty to happen sooner rather than later, for sure.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on that.
Crypto again was saying, thanks for your time, guys. Great having you on, Fridge. And absolutely, Fridge. It's been a pleasure having you on the stream. Man, we learned a lot. I'm excited to also check out more stuff on your YouTube channel, and we got to get that plugged as well in the comments for all of Fridge's links. Because you're putting out so much good content on that, like a daily basis almost, and then you have the fun content too, like the Wall Street bet stuff. I mean, it's good stuff. So I want to make sure that everyone who's watching can get over there and check out your stuff.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I really try to do a little bit of everything, try to cover like, trading stocks, also looking at the market overall. I haven't done anything with the market recently as much. I did a lot more Trader Daddy stuff recently. I have a fun series I'm doing now where I spin a wheel for the S&P 500 stocks, and I pick one randomly. It gets picked. I do fundamental analysis, technical analysis to look to see what's going on that one. I'm on episode 4. I have to do 500 of these. Obviously, there's 500 in the stocks in the industry for that one. So that will definitely take some time for it. But that one's pretty fun because I get to look at like stocks I've never even heard of, for example, and see what's going on with them.
Right.
And, it allows me to really kind of see like from a fundamental side of things. And so far, some of the stocks that I've looked at, have kind of respected levels I've set, which I've been really happy to see. It gives me the more confidence to chart more and more when I see more of the stock prices reaction to certain levels I chart out for things. So I definitely, try to do a little bit of everything. That's a fun series I'm doing. I track my, net worth. I try to do that as much. I try to do a little bit of everything. So, I don't know what else there is for people to watch for financial stuff, but I can make it if people want to request it. I can definitely make it happen, whatever it is you want to see. But I've tried to do a little bit of everything just because, there's always something for somebody to watch. You like stock market stuff, cool. You like financial market stuff, cool. You like watching D-Gens gamble on Wall Street bets. I can do that for you too. You like Roth IRA information. I got that stuff on there, whatever it is you need, So I appreciate, you guys let me obviously come on here. I was so excited for it. And I was like, my wedding's coming up. And I was like, let me wait till my wedding's done first. And that's done and over with. So I've been very, very, happy. I've really loved being here tonight for you guys. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we weren't going to make you put off the wedding there, Fred.
We don't got that kind of reach yet. Yeah, one day.
Happy life, man. You'll know that. You'll learn that.
Well, I was talking to my wife, and I was like, "Can I do the 28th?" And she was like, "No, that's the day after we got married. What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "You know what? You're right.
The day after."
I was like, "Fair enough." So, but yeah, no, I appreciate you guys giving me the time to talk and give my 2 cents on things. I'm always trying to give whatever I've learned over the years. Now, again, I'm self-taught, so I'm not some expert degree holding person. I just kind of just read a lot of articles, read books, articles, videos, whatever it is. Googling things every single day of my life, I feel like now, to see what's going on with the markets and everything. So it's a pleasure to be here, honestly. And I'll tell you guys this. When I first started YouTube, I didn't think I'd even get this far where I would have, ad revenue, I would have memberships. I'd be, you guys asked me on a podcast I think that to me, it's a privilege by itself. I went to the Robinhood event back in March, I think it was, during the week. That was really, really awesome to see. So I met Vlad, which was super awesome.
Nice.
Got his autograph, and him and I talked for like a minute or two, not even, but it was amazing to see that. So honestly, this has been a year where I can look back on it, and this has been just an amazing year for the Fridge Financials community. And it just makes me excited to see what's going to happen 5-10 years down the road now, where we're going to be at now. So can't wait for it.
And you're only halfway through this year. You still got the second half to go.
Yeah, still got the second half to go for sure. So I can only imagine, I'll probably make it a video about, the last 3 years, recapping where I'm at now from how many subscribers I had last year. I don't even know how many I had last year. I forget what number I had last year, but it's just, this community's been amazing. And what I like about it is that just because I'm not someone who has a degree in it, people are still willing to listen to what I have to say. Yeah. And that's what I think really matters, is that, you don't need a degree. If you do your own research and you read up on your own things and you have the faith and confidence in what you do, then people will hear you out. And they might not agree with you, but they'll hear you out and say, I like your perspective. I don't agree with it, but here's why. But they appreciate the perspective that we write up here. So, that's been something that's been really, really awesome. And I cannot ask for a better community I have for Fridge Financials right now. And maybe one day I can quit teaching and do it full time. I don't know you and I will do that, but I would love to do that one day, hopefully, but we'll see.
There's Fridge Financials YouTube up on the page there. Yeah, we got him. We got Bob Dog with Theta Daddies. I'm hoping many more will pop up here from these live streams. But yeah, I got to start making more YouTube stuff as well. And I know 0 Hour we're gonna be doing a bunch with that going forward. But hopefully we can come on the show sometime for you guys. If you and Ryan are hosted, I'd love to come on and talk sometime. I'm sure Benny would too.
Yeah. Anytime. Yeah, absolutely. And we do, I don't know if you guys know this, but we do financial trivia once a month. It's pretty fun too. I don't know if you've ever seen that, posted. It's a fun thing. We do 20 questions online, and then the winner gets giveaways and prizes and stuff. And Ryan and I teach things as we're going throughout it. It's 20 questions, I think, online. And we have people everybody just joins in, and they just it's a multiple choice trivia that we do every month, once a month. And we do a bunch of questions. I do questions. He does questions. We now have Ann doing questions as well, which is amazing. So we have all these different perspectives, all these different kind of questions we ask people, and then we just have trivia. It's trivia night. It's like when you go to a bar, you have trivia night. We have it here, but it's online, and we give away prizes and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. We do it once a month. So if you guys ever want to swing by, we'll be more than happy to have you. It's public. Everybody can see it. So it's a lot of fun for that we do, and people really like the trivia. They really enjoy because it's not just here's the answer, we move on. Ryan and I will sit there and talk for a couple minutes about each question. Hey, this is what to look for. Hey, this is what's going on. Hey, this is why this is the answer, not this one. We really try to bring the true educational part to the trivia. It's a lot of fun for us. I really love doing trivia with him every single month. It's a lot of fun. So if you guys ever want to do it, you're more than happy to tune in. If you want to hang out and just have a good time, you want to answer and take part of it, you can. Anybody who's watching this definitely can do so. It's we try to do as much educational content for free as we can for people on YouTube and on his Substack, obviously. And after hours, because knowledge is free. It is a free thing. So instead of trying to monetize every single thing, we like to try to give away as much as we possibly can for people. So it's a lot of fun.
Awesome, man. Well, I'll definitely be checking it out. That sounds like a fun time, and it'll be fun to hang out and chat too, and just see what's going on, and hopefully actually guess some correct answers. So awesome. I think.
Yeah, my wife does it. She's like, I got 5 right. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. She's like, yeah, I'm learning a little bit. So she kind of takes part in it sometimes to listen to see what's going on with it. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. Again, come by. Not everybody who watches it just plays. They just kind of listen to hear what we talk about and listen to our explanations. So you don't have to play if you don't want to, but it's definitely a lot of fun for all of us. So feel free. It's always there for you guys. We would love to have you.
I mean, that sounds fantastic. Let's just keep.
We'll check it out.
This retail investor community, the community of communities that we're building here at 0 Hour Group, and bringing everyone together to share as much knowledge as we can for free. So fantastic. Absolutely. Appreciate you, Fridge. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, guys. Thank you guys enjoyed it. I appreciate you guys giving me the platform for it. Anybody that was listening, thank you so much for all that. Hopefully I was able to bring some new stuff for you guys tonight. And hopefully you guys invite me back at some point. I got a whole summer off still till end of August. So if you guys ever need somebody to fill some time, let me know. I can make time for you guys as always.
Right on. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the second official episode of the 0 Hour Group podcast, weekly podcast. Fridge, thank you. And we hope to see all you guys around. There will be additional 0 Hour Group content starting to come out here for free on a couple of platforms with articles as well, as we build out this group and this brand. And we're very excited to get this journey going with you guys. So definitely keep an eye out. We got some big things coming and some flights getting taken here soon too. So watch out. Benny, anything you got to say for final words?
Oh, just say everybody, appreciate everybody tuning in. Really do appreciate the folks following along and giving us the feedback. You can follow us on X, go over there and check us out. Substack, of course, YouTube, and the zerohourgroup.com. So yeah, we're here for you, and whatever you want to hear or see from us, let us know. All right, we're all ears.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Thank you. We will see you later. Let's all have a good day in the stock market tomorrow. And